from reviving the Nubian language. And today we have another interesting topic about Nubian culture. And under Nubian culture, we're going to be talking about Nubian naming, our traditional way of naming our children, our Nubian babies. How are we supposed to name them? What criteria is considered when you're supposed to name a Nubian baby? So that is our topic for today. And as usual, I have a co-host with me. He'll introduce himself, inshallah, and Bidillah will start the interesting topic for today. Don't forget to call us or send a message if you have any question at all. Our live number for the studio is 0770331194. That is 0770331194. And our SMS line is 0787535307. That is our SMS line, 0787535307. Do not forget to indulge us, and we are ready to answer your questions. And to my co-host, please, you're welcome to the show, and let's begin.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Radwan Ahmed Haider. I'm a student studying community development and also a student of the Nubian culture and the Nubian heritage. So thank you very much, Ramlat, for welcoming me to this session. This is a topic I'm so much interested in, the Nubian culture and especially the Nubian names. So I'm hopeful we'll have a very beautiful discussion, inshallah.
So if we begin, my first question, this is a question I've been wanting to ask ever since I came across this topic. What is the ideal Nubian naming way? Like, what would you say is the original cultural way we are supposed to name our children, our Nubian babies? Yeah.
That's a very nice question. There's a specific criteria in which people use in naming kids, especially for us in the Nubian community. What I know and what we have been taught by our grandparents is that we use Islam first. So you'll find that a Nubian kid is called Hassan, Hussein, Muhammad. So Islam comes first. So we use Islamic names. And then there are specific Nubian names that are given that have specific meanings. And there's a specific criteria in which people use. The first one is originally, it is supposed to be the grandparents of the kids who are supposed to choose the name. Let's say, for example, the paternal grandparents, they're the ones who choose the name for the kids. And the criteria in which they use, for example, the grandparent has a sister or a brother, or they have, let's say, someone who died a while back, so they use that name. For example, you have a daughter. You have given birth to a daughter, and the paternal grandparents of the daughter will choose the name. Let's say, for example, he had a sister called Meremia. So you're supposed to name that child Meremia. Yeah. That is the criteria they use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what would you say, do you name a Nubian child based on the time they are born, or is that not put into consideration?
Surprisingly, it is quite different from other communities. Let's say, for example, the Luos. They usually name kids, let's say, for example, a baby is born in the morning, she's given a specific name. Mm-hmm. A baby is born at the evening, they're given a specific name, mm-hmm. different from the one that is born in the morning. Mm-hmm. For the Nubian community, surprisingly, we don't have such. Mm-hmm. So we don't necessarily focus on the time the baby is born, mm-hmm. or the weather, mm-hmm. or the season. Yeah. So we don't focus on that.
So you don't do time, weather,
not really.
None of
not
that.
Really.
Okay.
Not really. Don't do that.
And does the name given to a Nubian child influence their behavior, like how they turn out when they grow up? You know, you'd be named maybe Malas, and I know that means honey, right? Or bees. Yeah. Lassen is bees, Amani honey. Yeah. So basically, does it influence a child's behavior when they finally grow up?
Of course it does. Mm-hmm. It does. Even in Islam, we're taught by Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam that we should name our kids beautiful names. Yeah. For the name that you name a kid, yani, in a way, it determines their character. Mm-hmm. So he encouraged us as Muslims to name our kids beautiful names. Mm-hmm. He gave an example of Hassan, mm-hmm. something that is beautiful, and Hussein, you know. And I think it's the same with the Nubian culture. that we name our kids beautiful names, perhaps they'll have beautiful characters and
Yeah.
beautiful attributes. So that's a thing, in the Nubian names. And for example, we have seen several people being named certain names, and in a way, their lives, go in turn with their name. Like for example, there is a kid named Tabo. Tabi logonyer couldn't stab fimaisha tokulo when is stab Tabo. Shida. Fi asma din kena kelem ya gijib shida na As in such a situation, we consider the Islamic perspective and also the Nubian perspective that we give the kids beautiful names.
Yeah. So I have a few more questions, but I remember asking you to do your own research about this specific topic that we'll talk about here, and I'm sure you did your own research.
Yeah,
you have a few interesting information you have to share with us, and if you could please do that.
Okay. Something interesting I learned about naming the Nubian culture is that apart from the actual name that is given by the parents, there are also specific nicknames that people are given along their way. As they grow up, there are specific nicknames. And there's a specific criterion which people use to give people nicknames. Like, for example, the first thing people look at is your physical attributes. Like, for example, Kantazol Rafaya, Binadita, Muhammad Rafaya, Ali Rafaya, Kantazol Gisher, Binadita, Ismail Gisher. Ismail Yatu, Ismail Gisher. And we have seen when someone is given such nicknames, they tend to hold on for their entire lifetimes.
Yeah.
And people know them by their nicknames. Like, for example, my great-grandfather was known as Mzee. Even people actually forgot his actual name was Ramadan.
Yeah.
So people knew him as Mzee.
Mzee.
Why was he Mzee? Because he was the darkest person in the Nubian community.
Yeah.
So you can imagine. So they use such criteria to name people according to their physical characteristics. And then another thing, they give you nicknames according to what you are associated with. Let's say, for example, you have a shop.
Yeah.
It will be known as Ramlat Dukan. Ramlat yetu, Ramlat Dukan.
Dukan.
Roina na Ramlat Dukan kitaji baja fulani. As they use such criteria. I think that's it.
And would you perhaps name a list of original, the ones that are really original Nubian names from way back from our ancestors and our predecessors? So if you have maybe a list of names you could mention that are purely Nubian, no Western influence, no nothing, just Nubian. Would you please mention if you have a list? Maybe?
Yeah, of course. While doing my research, I found out that we have original Nubian names. Original Nubian names that might not be found in other cultures, in other tribes, only for the Nubians. And in Nubian names, they're divided into two categories. First of all, there's the female names, and then the male names, of course. And we have specific names that are specifically for Nubians. Like, for example, we'll hear someone called Minala. Minala ma Minale.
Minala.
Ama Minala. Nine is Jamnari. Nine is Alisana. Nine is Fatah Albab. Akuwa na Hai. Malimutu. Abduges. Fadal Mula. Fadal Shed. Abutiman. Maktub, Ruman, Galgal. Tomsa, Almas. Very beautiful names. Farakan. Sabir. Afoyo. Biringanya. Biringanya is an actual name that
it's not just the food.
No.
Oh, okay.
It's an actual name that can be given to a kid. We have Biringanya, we have Doka. For the female, we have like Kadimala. We have like Kemsa, Kondusa, Bonna, Meremia, Fatna. We have Akana.
Sakina.
And there's a very beautiful name that I had before, and I said, inshallah, when I have a son, I'll give them the name. I had Munjur. A very beautiful name. Munjur. We have Makawaya. We have Ndotolo. Unique names, beautiful and unique names. Akara, Derebe, Lukaki, Keji, Keija, Lukman, which is actually an Arab name and also a Nubian name.
Yeah.
We have Saki, we have Akia, we have Faida. Very beautiful names. We have Mauzu. Name is Fikra. Manguru, Subra, Dongus, Kadara, Segia, Basegia. We have Nezma, we have Sakar, we have Nezla, we have Kasara. Nezla is an actual name, and Nezla in other terms inamaanisha homa pia. So you can name a kid homa. So in such a situation ukimwita Nezla, yeah, ukimwita Nezla inamaanisha ushamweka kwa setup ya kuwa na homa kila siku. Yeah.
So would you kuna a few of the names that you know their meanings maybe?
Yeah.
Just mention like 5, 10 or just a few.
Yeah, I have several. Like for example, actually when I was doing my research, I found out the meaning of my grandfather's name. My grandfather's name is Atitala. Yeah, Atitala. So that is those are two names combined. Taulan, Atia, which in the Nubian language means gift. Atia, ama hadia. Those two are synonyms meaning gifts. Atia, the gift. Allah de Rabbana. Atia ta Allah. This is a gift from Allah. And then there is another one I had, Farhan. This means joy. Tabassam. This is a Nubian name. This is an actual Nubian name. For the female, Tabassam. For the male, Basam. Which means joy and smile and anything associated with joy. And then there is another one, Border. A lady known as Border. Hii inamaanisha mbu. So her entire life itakuwa kama mbu. Mauzi.
Kila sana. Kila bakan.
Hassan. Something which is good. Jamal
Hassan
is an actual Nubian name, which means something that is beautiful. Jamil also means beautiful. Jamila for the female, which means something that is pretty. We have Jedia.
Jedia.
Yeah, Jedia is an actual Nubian name. Yeah, I think those are a few that I got the meaning, and they have really beautiful meanings.
And what would you say is the meaning behind my name, Ramlat?
Behind
Ramlat. And I was told the Nubian way of pronouncing Ramlat is Ramlati.
Yes. I also had the same thing, that you're not supposed to be called as, you're not supposed to be known as Ramlat.
Malim Ismail calls me Ramlati.
Yeah. Ramlati.
What does it mean? Rumla. Yeah, maybe. I don't understand.
Probably. Yeah. But I'll have to do some research, and then I'll let you know, inshallah.
Yeah. And that is the first session of our interesting topic, which is Nubian naming. With another session, subsession, the second session of this topic, which is Nubian naming. And remember, if you have any question, call us on Studio Live on 0770-331194, or you can SMS on our line 0787535307. And now we are going to go back to our co-host and talk about a very, very interesting topic also on Nubian naming, which is Timana and Sibir. On Timana, we want to know what happens when you have twins, Nubian twins, and what happens from their naming, growing up, and everything about them. So, Rizwan, if you could please talk about these two topics, which is Timana and Sibir.
Thank you very much, Ramlat, for having me back. As we continue our conversation on the Nubian naming, there are specific names that are set aside specifically for twins. Let's say, for example, in a house they have given birth to twins. There are specific names that are given to the male twins, and specific names that are given to the female twins, which is constant all through the Nubian culture, since the beginning of time. Okay. So here I have a list of names for twins. For example, let's say, in a home they've given birth to twins, a male and a female one. Kutakuwa na Juma, and the female version will be Jimia. Banur, Banura, Aki, Akia, Kadir, Kadara, Sabir, Subra, Hassan, Gurwama, Toma. Hassan Magurwama Malasin, Hassan Gurwama Toma. Karim, Karima, ama Karimi, anasta Uganda jike Karimi. Khamis, Kimisa, Saidi, Saida, Nusuru, Nusura, Safi, Safina, Ali, Alia, Ada, Adaya, Zaida, Ziada, Aziz, Aziza, Jamal, Jamil, ama Jamal, Jamila, Salim, Salima, Hanan, Hanuna, Rahma, Rehema, Salim, Masalama, Ruman, Maruman. Constant. Ruman is both a male and a female. Yeah. So, but most of the time, when twins are born, especially in the Nubian community, female twins, they're named Malas and Matoma. This is the most common name used. And what I have come to know is that the one who is given birth, who came out first, is given the name Malasen, and the second one is given Toma.
So the first twin Malasen, second twin
The second one Toma. Malasen, Matoma. And then surprisingly, when they're given Malasen Matoma, this is something Ramlat you'll come to find out, that all Malasen, all through the entire community, they have the same characteristics.
Yeah.
Zaid mungi kele matia nasal gina di Malasen mungi kun gidam yani kimbele.
Yeah.
And then Toma is most of the time the laid back one, yeah, who isn't hayuko kimbele hivyo sana. But that is something that is just a small fact that you'll come to find out.
So Malasen is the extrovert.
Yes,
and Toma is the introvert.
In English terms.
Yeah.
Lakini in Swahili kimbelembele na mpole.
Yeah.
And then, let's say, for example, in a boma, they're twins. It is the duty of every single boma that has twins to do something known as sibirtimana. That is something that is culturally acceptable and culturally advised, sibirtimana. And there's a lot of superstitions behind the sibirtimana. In any case, that there is an event or a ceremony, and the sibirtimana is not done, they usually say that it brings about bad omen and bad luck. As we are not sure about that, but once we're given that information, we take it and we hold it so dear. So we need to encourage the sibirtimana to be done, just in order to avoid such issues, you know. And the sibirtimana, from what I know, sibirtimana is something like a cultural norm that is done all through, and there are specific foods in which specific foods that are cooked, and they're given specifically to the twins. And they usually say, if they are not given the specific food, it will bijib ngiri baina touma. Bijib ngiri. Bijib ngiri in English means envy.
Yeah.
Envy, and you never want envy to come between twins.
Yeah.
So there is that type of sibir, a specific food in which is cooked, and then there's one where they woof wanashona something that looks like a nest, and then they place it at the entrance of the house. After placing it at the entrance of the house, whenever a guest enters, they place mashruf, they place money. Yeah? Let's say, for example, there is Jamal and Jamil. So we'll have one nest for Jamal and another one for Jamil. And when you enter inside the house, you have to place 10 shillings at Jamal's place, 10 shillings at Jamil's nest. Yeah. So that is part of the sibir. And then another thing, let's say, for example, they're twins, and one of them is getting married, or one of them is marrying. When you bring gifts to the one who's getting married, you have to bring a gift of equal value or the same exact gift for the other twin. That is something that is very beautiful for our culture. I think it brings about equality. Yeah, not equity, equality. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And on that note, I also have another question, which is, what would you emphasize Nubian parents to consider while naming their children? Because as you said, how you name your child influences their behavior, right? And how you name the first twin also influences their behavior, and the second twin as well, which you have seen we have extroverts and introverts. So what would you suggest or emphasize for our Nubian parents to consider while naming their our Nubian kids, or basically us and our next generation?
First and foremost, I'd really encourage them to follow the advice of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Whenever you're giving a child a name, give them from the best of names.
Yes.
Something that is really nice, like you can name your child Zahra.
Yeah.
Makinubi nagi kilem Zahra.
Zahra, yes.
Amajara.
Yes.
This is something beautiful, a flower, Zahra. So I would really encourage them to look for really good names with beautiful meanings. Perhaps that might shape their character. Let's say, for example, you name a child Jamal. Perhaps he might grow up to be someone who is very Jamal, someone who is very pleasant, someone who is very nice, someone who is very good. Yeah? So that would be my advice. And another advice, I would advise parents to adopt the Nubian names. We have really absolutely beautiful names, and we need to take pride in our names. The same way other communities take pride in their names. Like, for example, in West Africa, in Senegal, you'd find that people name their kids the traditional way. In as much as we want to adopt to the modern culture, but we need to also take pride in our own culture. In West Africa, you might find there is someone who's called Momadu. That is a creolized version of Muhammad. Momadu. You'll find Tol. You'll find Fall. Yeah? You'll find Mustafa. This is a creolized version of Mustafa. So we need to take pride in our names, and I would urge parents, whenever you have a child, you should consider first giving them a Nubian name, so that we can maintain our heritage and our culture and our Terigatena.
Yeah. So I'm sure people would like to know what you do for the community, where you're from, what you do, and maybe if you come from a specific organization, or basically just tell us about yourself and where they can find you, if maybe you're on social media. Yeah.
At the moment, I would say I'm just a normal person, a community volunteer. Whenever I find an opportunity to give back to my community, I take the opportunity. And I'm also a student of community development. I've studied community development as a profession, and I'm thinking of different ways in which we can improve our community. And the first thing that I think the first action that we should take as a community is to first accept our own heritage, accept our own culture, accept that we are Nubians, and we must be proud to be Nubians at all times. Yeah. You should never be shy about being Nubian. We need to take pride in our Nubian language, in our Nubian heritage, in our Nubian culture. Yeah. So at the moment, that is what I do. My name is Ridwan Ahmed. Ridwan Ahmed Haidar. I live at Karanja. Salama. Most of the time, nikitembea kwa mtaani mtaniona nikitembea. And alhamdulillah, very soon we have an initiative that is going to cover on the cultural aspects. We want to revive our Nubian heritage. We want to revive our Nubian culture. We want to revive our Nubian ways. The same way the Nubian people in the past used to live. They had their own culture. They had their own values. They had their own norms. They had their own beliefs. We want to bring that back, but in a modern version. Yeah. But we want to hold on to our own culture, because the moment we lose our own culture, we lose our identity, we lose our sense of direction completely. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ridwan, for finding your names. I'm sure there's some people who didn't know that you can name your kid Malasen. They think, oh, Malasen is just a primitive name. It's not an English name. I don't like it, because now we are gravitating towards the Western people. Yeah. And the Arab names, which are really beautiful, because we emulate them and we just love what they do.
But you can have two. You can give your kid two names.
Yeah.
That is acceptable.
Yeah.
You can have the normal Arabic name, and also as the second name, or as the first name, the Nubian name.
Yeah. So that is a very good, this has been a very, very interesting discussion and topic, and I hope our listeners at home, you've enjoyed and you've partake your time to, listen in on us and learn one or two things. As far as I'm concerned, I've learned a few things, and inshallah we'll be back again with another interesting topic. Remember, we are reviving the Nubian language. We want our Nubian language to be prevalent in our society for the coming generations, and teach our kids this language, our naming our culture, our cuisines, everything about the Nubian community as a whole. And inshallah, I'll see you guys, or maybe you guys will hear me next Thursday as I have the next topic and another new co-host, inshallah. And until next time, keep it reviving the Nubian language. I've been your host, Ramlat Tamim.